Welcome back, everyone. Today I figured we'd make an attempt at putting together this filter system. So this is the one I'm planning on using for recirculating either the shower or the laundry, maybe both, depending on how efficient it is. So I just bought some materials just to allow me to put this together and see what I can come up with. So to start with, these filter housings are 1-inch thread, NPT. So I wasn't able to find a close nipple in 1 inch that wasn't metal, so I figured I'd go ahead and make one out of PVC. So I've got the materials to do that. We'll get that started, get these two put together side by side. Once I have that in place, I can see about getting them mounted on here. So now I need to figure out how big a piece of PVC do I need to put in the middle here to get the right distance between the two. Basically, I want these to sit as close together as I possibly can. So looking at this, if I just put enough PVC in to just fill the gap, then I should be fine. So the problem here is I want to make sure that I've got enough room inside the compartment for these to mount. So in that position, here we are 21 inches in size, okay? At that distance, I've also got to finish up the hose bibs on the outside, but I think that shouldn't be much of a problem. There. Yeah, so this is what I'm using to put the hose bib in. And here's my hose bib. So, let's get a bit of an idea of where that's going to sit. Okay, I should be able to push that in all the way when I glue it. So we're going to add about another 2.5 inches to this on each side. So I may need to come up with an elbow or something else because I don't think I have that much room. Let me go check really quick. Alright, that's what I was afraid of. So I've got 24 inches in total front to back in order to mount this stuff, which tells me a couple of things. I can do this as a test run, but when it comes time to do the final installation, I'm going to have to get these filter housings closer together. So I probably need to get my hands on a 1-inch close nipple or something a lot smaller than this in order to make this all fit properly. I also need to figure out what to do with these hose bibs. I'll reuse part of this stuff, but I think that's going to be just too big to fit into the compartment. And they need to go this direction. I don't want them sitting sideways. Although that would give me a little more room to work with, the problem there is I don't know that I've got the space to actually make that work front to back. So for now, I'm going to cut a piece of PVC. Obviously when you're doing this, you want to look inside to the point where the shoulder is, measure that. Since I just need to get enough distance to go double that, I can just double it and cut it off with my hacksaw. Alright, there's our test fit for the filters. The glue's still drying, so I'm just kind of leaving them there so they stay in the right orientation. What we have, there's our input coming off of a hose bib. I did it that way so when it comes time to install these, I can actually put kind of a moving armature that'll allow them to slide out without having to disconnect the plumbing. Obviously I'm going to be making some modifications to this. These ended up being a lot bigger than I thought they were going to be, and that is taking up way too much space. So like you just heard, I'm going to have to cut this down a little bit, see if I can get them closer together. But input coming into the filter, here we got our little modified close nipple, and then over here our outflow going out. So the pump will bring water into the input here. Obviously it's going to have that pre-filter on it that you see over there on the other side, so that's the next piece I'm going to work on, getting the fittings on there. So the outflow of this spin-down filter, this one here, is going to be a PEX connection. I'm going to use 3/4 PEX. I went ahead and got some red, it's what I could find, so I'll make this the proper colors when the time comes, but actually this is all going to be warm, so it'll probably be red when the time's in. So I'm going to put some Teflon tape on this fitting. This is a 3/4 NPT to 3/4 PEX, so put that in the outflow here. And then I think on the input, I might go ahead and put another hose bib. And the reason I'm doing that, this won't be permanent, I don't expect, because my plan is to permanently mount this filter to the back of the enclosure when it's done. But for now, I'm going to be setting the water tank right next to this, so I want to have a little extra movement. So we'll put a hose in place between the two. So this will go over here. This filter is a 3/4 thread, so it makes it nice and easy. Don't have to adapt anything. Also, remember, when you're using Teflon tape, make sure to put it on as you would a nut. So you grab that. So we're going to hold this with the fitting set in such a way as if it was going to be threaded into something on my end. And I'm going to take this and put it on clockwise from here. So that direction. By doing it this way, it guarantees that when I go to thread this in, it doesn't mess with my tape as it's going on. Okay. There we go. Alright, and we'll do the same thing for the hose bib, and this one will be ready to use. There's our filter, hose bib coming in from the tank, and 3/4 PEX coming out. So this is now ready to go. I need a line to connect this to the pump. So the pump came with some fittings. I need to check and see if these can actually be used on PEX. I'm not entirely sure they can. They seem kind of fragile. Then again, maybe. Okay, here's something I found out. So this is a Whale Universal gray water pump. This one's supposed to be able to handle a little bit more debris in the system than your normal freshwater pumps would, but it is supposed to be able to maintain a constant pressure. I guess we'll find out when I get this all connected. I still like the idea of using this pump, but here's something I just learned. So it came with a couple different kinds of fittings. So apparently Whale has their own fittings. That makes some sense, I guess. So it's kind of a push lock system. So this is designed to push into the side of the pump and lock in place and make a watertight seal. So I like that idea, and these are a connection between that fitting and a regular barb. So I can put kind of a soft hose on here between this and my PEX, which I think I'll probably end up doing in my final installation. But just so you're aware, this one here I thought was an interface with 1/2" NPT. So I got these PEX fittings. This is 3/4 PEX to 1/2" NPT, and I tried to put these two together, and although they look like they're going to fit, it just doesn't go. It's trying to cross thread every time I put it on there. So I'm not sure if it just has to do with the fact that I'm trying to put metal against plastic, or if it's the way the threads are on here. Like if you notice right here at the end, they're not the greatest. So maybe if I had a brass fitting like this, I would be able to get these two to fit together. I'm confident this has to be 1/2" NPT, but these two just will not go together. So if you're buying this and you're planning on connecting to brass fittings, you might need to order a set of brass to Whale adapters. They do make them. I've actually got a set on order, so I'll let you know how those work when they get here. But I think for final installation, I'm going to use the barb here that I can put soft hose on. That should isolate the pump a little bit more from the plumbing, which might actually cut down my noise and vibration. So I'll let you know how that works out, but hopefully these parts will arrive here soon and I can get this finished. Alright, what I figured out, the holes in the top of these do not have any kind of threads cut in them. So you're not going to be able to put bolts down in there. They're designed to actually use lag screws, and from what I can tell, they're a 5/16 lag screw. So I went ahead and got 1 inch. It pretty much fills the space. So I think that should be about right. And looking at the way they cut threads in here when I put the lag screws in, it seems to be about right. So, let's see what we can do here. There we go. You could probably make a case for like 1.25 inches or even 1.5 inches if you had it, just considering the lock washer. Okay, there we go. Obviously your 5/16 uses a 1/2 inch wrench or socket. I'm not really pushing these too far. Obviously they're threaded into plastic, so I don't want them too tight. And for now, I'm just trying to mount them to a board, so I don't really need them perfect. We'll get the other one installed and see about mounting these on the board. There's one step down. So this is just a temporary mount, obviously, but they are pretty solid on here. I think we're going to be fine as far as the vibration of the bus is concerned with those filters hanging even with water in them. We'll find out after I get this all loaded up and filled and ready to go and try to figure out if that's going to be an adequate mount. I would expect so, as in it's the stock mount for the filters, but these do sit far enough out that they're easy to grab, so that should make it nice for pulling the cartridges and making everything clean again. So next step, I need to get the pump mounted. It's going to go right over here. The UV purifier is going to go across the top up here over the filters. And then over here I need to figure out what to do with the pre-filter. So let's see what I can do. Alright, so here's what we have. Pre-filter, just kind of held up there with a couple of tie wraps. Got a hose bib coming in, so I'm going to dump this just in a 5-gallon bucket just so I can kind of keep an eye on the water and see how it's doing. Coming through, PEX outlet. I went ahead and left this pre-strainer in place down here. I can always take it out and redo this section if necessary, but I'm leaving it in for now because I want to find out how much does this little guy catch that this didn't. So we'll see, but it's easy enough to remove if necessary. Obviously I prefer to just use this filter alone because this one with this valve underneath, I can connect a hose to the bottom of this and just run it out of the bus and drain it as necessary. It'll be a little easier to drain the system if I have to. On the outside here, so I went ahead and connected the soft tubing. It was easier to do this than wait for the other fittings that I didn't have. So just went to PEX, and then here I've got just a standard hose bib. So I'm going to connect another hose from here to the input of the filters, and then as you see I've got a hose going from the output of the filter to the UV. And then over here on this side, this will be my output. I've got a longer hose to put on this one, and this one I'll just run back into the bucket. So my reason for doing this instead of using the tanks, I have a 5-gallon tank and a 20-gallon tank. The 20 I know is going to be more than large enough to handle this system. The 5 I'm not so sure about. So what I've got is a 5-gallon open bucket. That allows me to do two things. One, it lets me keep an eye on how much water it draws down to fill all of these filter housings and make sure that this is all functional. So that'll give me an idea of how many extra gallons I need to put in there when I'm filling the system. Also, having an open water container like that allows me to keep a closer eye on what the status of the water is. How long does it take it to get it fully clean? Can it get it fully clean? And I can always take my output hose and drop it into another bucket or a cup or something like that, just so I can really see what I'm dealing with. Because again, part of what I want to do with this test is to find out not only does it work, because it should, but on the other hand, I want to know how clean does it get the water with a single pass. So in other words, if I use dirty laundry water for this, can I shower in it? Is that going to be clean enough that I'm comfortable taking a shower in it? Or vice versa. If I'm using shower water, is it clean enough that I can wash my laundry with it and actually expect it to get clean? So my plan over the course of, I don't know, the next couple of weeks is going to be to test this with a few different designs. So please feel free to drop comments and let me know what you think. What should I try putting in the bucket to see if it can filter it out? I've got a lot of extra filters, so if I ruin some, I really don't care. And yeah, I'd hate to ruin the pump, but if the system's built right, it should work okay. So anyway, let me get this finished, and I'll show you what it takes to put the element in the UV filter, and then we'll see about running some water through it. So, for the installation process, this particular UV light comes with a glass or quartz, as they put it, sleeve. So what we want to do is place one O-ring over this side, make sure that the flat side is down toward the sleeve. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. There we go. Okay. I'm leaving these pretty close to the outside just because I figure I'm going to have to slide this into position, and hopefully the O-rings can move a little bit as necessary. So I'm going to take this open piece off. There we go. Alright, let's insert that into there. Okay. So that will not work like that. Okay, I figured it out. So the O-rings go on the outside of the chamber, not the inside. So what we're going to do, I went ahead and put one on beforehand, and then here's the other. Okay, so one of these caps is sealed and the other one is not. I do need to put some Teflon tape on here, but let's at least slide this into position. There we go. And push this one down into place, and then put this one on just to make sure that I'm in the right position here. Now they did say to make sure that you've got a good seal on the outside here, so it looks pretty good. I think that'll do the job. So what that created was the outer water containing chamber, and then the glass or quartz insert inside of it. So I can now place the bulb on the inside of that. So let me get some Teflon tape on here so I can put these on in a final form, and then we'll finish it up. Alright, here's our light bulb. Okay, here we are. Now, make sure we're plugged in correctly. Okay, there's that. Now the thing that's weird about that is that does not seem to hold in there very well. Alright, I don't love that, but what I ended up doing was just putting a tie wrap around this cover, this rubber cover. It seems to be holding okay. It's not moving, so I think we're alright. So, let me get the pump wired up, and we should be ready to go, see if we can run some water through this thing. So for the first test, I'm not going to bother putting the filters into the main housings. I do have the pre-filter in place, but I'm just going to put the O-rings on here, just like that, and put this back in position. Okay, that one's seated. So this is mostly just a test of the volume. Get paperwork out of there. My PVC has been sitting for probably about 6 hours. By rights, I should be letting this go until tomorrow before I try putting anything in it. But since I'm not planning on this being my final setup, I don't mind if I have a little bit of a leak in those areas. There we go. Okay. Open, open. 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 And open. Primary supply. Open. Okay. Make sure you can see what I see. Alright, looks like you can. Let me turn you just a little bit though. There we go. So over here on the right hand side, right down there, I've got a battery. This is just the same one that I was using to run the heater when I had it connected to the bus. So just a couple of wires connected to make the pump run, and I'm just manually pulling the ground when I need to. So there's no switch in it, there's no fuse in it. This is again just a test. I'm not trying to make this permanent. So I've got my supply in the bucket over here. The bucket is as full as I can get it with the supplies I've got. And let's see what happens. Tip you down a little bit. Just get this stuff out of the way so the wind doesn't make a mess of it. Alright. And ground it. Okay, let's go ahead and pre-fill this one. We do have airflow, that's good. Oh, come on now. Maybe I'll pre-fill it. Go. All right.
There we go, there's water.
Okay, let's just do a quick check, see what we got. Alright, we've pulled probably a little over a gallon here. No leaks there. No leaks there. That's looking good. That might do better if it wasn't like that. There we go. I'll give that a try. Okay, I'm just going to pull this off of here. Alright, so that one's completely empty. That one's full. Makes me wonder if it only works with a filter in it. Okay, let's try a little bit without any water in that filter. I think I'm going to have to pre-charge these housings. Okay, there's water. Obviously, it'll require less water to fully charge once the filters are in here. There we go.
Right.
So I do have a few little air bubbles coming up from the bottom of the filter over there, the pre-filter. When I do this for real, the supply going into that pre-filter will be PEX and it'll be hardline, so I'm hoping that'll be a better connection to the tank. Okay, here we go. water coming out. We do have leaks around the filters. So here are some things that I've learned about this setup so far. Basically, you need to refill or pre-fill the filter. So especially that pre-filter right up there before the pump, that one needs to be full in order for this to draw suction properly. Granted, I did notice that the O-ring that was supposed to go on the top of the filter housing was missing, so I put a new one in. Maybe that's why it was drawing so much air last time. We'll give it a try. I did find, last time I tried this, you'll see earlier in the video, when I had the supply down at ground level, for some reason it was drawing a whole lot of air and not pushing a lot of water through. So I ended up having to put it up in the back of the bus, which is a pretty significant height difference. That worked, but I'm hoping that's not going to be required. So now that I've got better seals on here, I'm hoping I can bring that back down to ground level. Needless to say, we'll give it a try up here on the scaffolding and just see how it goes. I think I can make this work if necessary, in that I've got a 5-gallon tank that I can put down in the side compartment where all of this stuff is going to go. So the shower will drain down into that, and then I can put a pump to run the water up into the bus where I can put the 20-gallon tank, which will be the primary supply. Then the water will come back out of the 20-gallon tank and in through this filter, which will be mounted down in the side compartment. So it's a little more complicated to do it that way, but if that's what it takes to make this work without pulsating water supply, then I'll do it. Anyway, that's why I built this like this, so I can do all this testing beforehand, try to figure out where I need to put everything and how well it's going to work. So right now, just like earlier in the video, I do not have the filters in those two big filter housings right there, so they're full of water right now. I do have the UV system full at the moment, or mostly full, so I think I'm ready to go. I'm going to do a little testing here, and I'll try to bring you over where you can see the water moving. I already tested it earlier, and I don't have any leaks. You saw that earlier. So let's get things moving. I'm going to move you over here. See if we can put you somewhere where you can see down into the bucket. That'll work. I'm going to tip you down a little bit. There we go. Okay. There, we'll start with that. All right. Power. Just going to set this on here just temporarily. Okay. So it's definitely drawing okay. Again, I'm not going to have this many hoses, so the seals will be better. I think the two places I'll probably use hose are between the output of the pump and the input of the filters, and then the output of the filters and the, well, it's going to be a heat exchanger. That gives me the ability to move those filters in and out. There we go. Okay. So good solid supply here. Put some back pressure on it. That'll work. So with about a 1 gallon per minute shower head, I should have plenty of supply for that. Now what I want to do is pick this up and put it down low and see how it does. Okay, same plan. We just have it sitting at ground level with a little bit better seal. Put some power on here. Okay, looking good. So what that tells me is my supply issue that I had before causing me to have to put this up high was because of the lack of the O-ring in that pre-filter. So make sure you put the O-rings in your filters. This is doing great. Maybe slightly less pressure, but not by much. You know what? I think for one of my future tests, I'm going to grab my shower head and put it on the end of this and just see how it does. Just want to know if the pump can handle it. Okay, so future testing of this system, I'm going to try putting some different things in the supply here. So I want to figure out how well the filtration and the purification works. So we'll try with some dirty water, we'll try with some soapy water, just try to figure out where things stand. I know a lot of people have said that they struggle with trying to get the soap suds out with these filters, and I also want to know how difficult is it to clean the filters after the fact. So, future videos, I'll try to clear up a few of these questions, and I'll see about putting some things in permanently. So for now, I would say that's a positive response. I'm going to drain these filters out just so I don't have a whole bunch of water sitting in them for moving it back into storage. And I'll see you over the next horizon.